Welcome back to the DC Films Unlimited podcast, or DCFU. It's been a while since I made one of these, but since we had more DC film news, I think it's time to reboot this podcast and get back to talking DC. Now, there's been a lot of movement with DC films, and the most recent thing to drop was the Superman trailer. It has been one of the most talked about, reacted to trailers in quite some time. In fact, the only other trailers that got more views than this Superman trailer are films like Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home. Superman has more views than any other DC film has had. And this bodes well for the Superman movie and James Gunn's start to the universe because there's a lot of pressure going against this movie. A lot of things got to go right. If this movie fails, then that's pretty much it for DC films for another 10 years. You're all going to get just Batman from now on if Superman fails. But let's just gush a little bit about this trailer. Just absolutely floored when I saw it. I wasn't expecting them to start with the Superman that's bloody and bruised. And instantly, you kind of got a feel for how different this Superman's going to be than any other Superman before. One could say it's the most accurate to the comics we've ever gotten. And I believe that. I'm on that train for sure. And all the people worried about the suit, from the behind the scenes photos, it looks baggy and stuff. Well, it looks great on camera. And there's some people like, Tyrone Magnus out there who, will just die on the hill that the suit looks bad, which I don't get. I think it looks like a superhero suit. I think it looks like something Ma Kent would make for Superman, which is comic accurate. In fact, there's a lot of things that are comic accurate in this trailer that some people don't like Guy Gardner's haircut. It is his haircut from the comics. You're not supposed to think Guy Gardner's cool. You're supposed to think he's an asshole. You're supposed to think he's a jerk off for even, having a haircut like that, so they're actually starting in a good place. Guy Gardner has a character arc that he can actually go through now. But, let's get back to the views. 2,500 million views. When trailers get those kinds of views, that means it's more likely going to make money because that's a lot of eyeballs seeing your film. You have hit the mainstream at that point. And there was this bullshit rumor going around that James Gunn's Superman needs to make $1 billion to be successful because its production budget was huge. It was like a $360 million production budget, which is a flat out lie. They shot this film relatively quick. This film was shot, earlier this year than last year, and now it's complete pretty much. VFX got to get finished up, and that's it. In fact, some of the VFX artists came out and said that they were praising James Gunn for not rushing them, which seems to be a problem with the Marvel movies on the other side. And this goes to James Gunn's philosophy that they don't want to develop any movies until they have a completed script, which is interesting to know that the MCU movies on the other side, they start making their films without knowing the ending of their films, really. Because they have set dates that they got to hit, and they got a pipeline, and they just got to pump movies out. They really don't care about the quality. They just want to get it done. That's why you have tons of reshoots on these superhero films, but not so much reshoots on James Gunn's Superman. You have pickup shots, but you don't have extensive, 3-month reshoots that, something like the new Captain America movie just went through. It's like, 4 or 5 months of reshoots, something like that. You didn't get that problem with Superman. So I would think his production budget is probably closer to 150, something around there. And this is like really laying the groundwork for how James Gunn wants these DC films to go. He wants a complete script. They want to have a clear vision and set path before they start pouring money into a film to start making it. And yes, in the past, you could make films without a fully complete script. The first Gladiator did that. Ridley Scott pretty much got the budget for that movie because he showed them a painting of a gladiator in Rome and just gave his spiel of what the movie was going to be, and he got producers to give him money for it. Of course, you could do that when you're Ridley Scott. James Gunn, on the other hand, really isn't taking chances like that, though, and that's really good to see. He's been prolific. He's made The Suicide Squad, then the first season of Peacemaker, then Creature Commandos, and then the second season of Peacemaker, then Superman. I mean, he has pretty much written all of this stuff, directed most of it, and all of it's been good, high-quality stuff. Whether it's going to make any money is still yet to be seen. We all know the Suicide Squad didn't make a whole lot of money. We all know that Creature Commandos is probably not going to make that much money. Peacemaker, these kind of things on streaming, they get views, but it's still yet to see how much money they actually turn out, That's why it's crucial for Superman to be a huge success, and the trailer getting that many views in such a short time bodes very well. Because hypothetically, let's just say 250 million people, all that saw that trailer, went to pay $15 for a ticket to go see Superman. You're looking at almost, $3.7 billion that Superman can make. Obviously, not going to make that. So let's be a little conservative and cut it in half, right? I see a lot of people out there saying that Superman doesn't have a chance to make $1 billion, but after the views that trailer got, it could easily cross $1 billion, especially if it's really good. If it's just okay, it could probably get to $1 billion. Everyone's being really conservative because they think, DC has done a lot of damage with the recent films, but then again, I feel like everybody kind of knew that those DC films weren't going anywhere. And everybody knows this new Superman film is not going to be connected to anything. I mean, that's why we have a new casting of Superman. It sends the message to the audience that this is not Henry Cavill Superman. This is not that DC universe. This is something new. So they're doing their best to shed the baggage of that. I mean, it's a reason you could say the Batman did so good because it didn't have any of the baggage of the DCEU. Everybody knew that the Robert Pattinson Batman had nothing to do with Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck or Zack Snyder, had nothing to do with those movies. And it made, over $800 million for the first movie of a trilogy? That's pretty good. But this is where I feel like a lot of people might be, maybe they're not open to the idea yet, but I feel like they will soon enough. And that's the Matt Reeves Batman merging with this James Gunn Superman. James Gunn has said that he's talked to Matt Reeves about it, Robert Pattinson says that he wants to be a part of the DCU, and it's really all down to Matt Reeves whether he wants to let it happen, which honestly, I don't really think it's up to him. Matt Reeves doesn't own the Batman IP or the Batman character, but it is a thing where, if they force his Batman to be the DCU, then Matt Reeves will walk away and not make any more Batman films. And honestly, it might be for the best because Matt Reeves takes a long time to make his films. It's almost 5 years since the last Batman film. And they haven't even started shooting yet. And yes, maybe Matt Reeves is very meticulous, but you can't take 5 years, 6 years in between Batman films. Look how fast James Gunn was able to turn out Superman. The film's pretty much ready to go. It took him less than 2 years to put it together and make it. And it's going to be a pretty big scale movie. But, DC's in a great predicament. They got a great problem to have if Superman's a huge success. Because then you have James Gunn's DCU, which is this huge behemoth. Everybody loves it. And you still have the Matt Reeves Batman verse, which everybody loves. Everybody loved the Penguin. Everybody loved that first Batman film. And if this Batman 2 is a huge hit, then boom. You have two big franchises going at the same time. And that's a good problem to have. Of course, I feel like maybe the Warner Bros. Executives or, the people at the top, they are waiting to see what Batman 2 does and what Superman does. They're waiting to see what these films do because let's say they do announce that the Robert Pattinson is merging with the James Gunn Superman, and then we get Batman 2 and it's a pile of shit. It's bad, then all of a sudden you have people that don't like this Robert Pattinson Batman and it sinks your DCU that you just made with James Gunn. And vice versa. If you announce these two are together, Superman comes out, and Superman is a bad film, then that sinks your Matt Reeves Batman verse. But let's say, best case scenario, Batman 2 is great, Superman is great. Now you're going to make an extra Batman in the Superman DCU verse, the James Gunn verse. You're going to make another Batman that's going to compete with your already successful, proven Batman. Who are people going to choose? They're not going to go to both of them, especially if one isn't as good as the other. If people love Robert Pattinson and then they put out a new Batman that's in this DCU and he's not as good as Batman as the Pattinson Batman, then that's all he's going to get compared to. Why have competing Batman when you can merge them? and you'll have these two behemoth franchises together. And then, maybe Matt Reeves can get his Batman trilogy, get some spin-off shows, and then maybe he can move on. If he doesn't want to do it anymore, he doesn't want to be part of the universe, still give him his trilogy, and then make this Batman part of the Superman DCU. And people will come up with all sorts of reasons why it can't happen. Oh, well, why aren't the superheroes in the Matt Reeves Batman films yet? It's like, go read a Batman comic. Some of the best Batman comic books don't have the other heroes in them. And you could have that same complaint at every great Batman comic. Where is Superman? You can ask that in every great Batman comic. Like Batman Court of the Owls, where's Superman? And another thing is that the Matt Reeves Batman, it's grounded, but it's not nearly as grounded as people think it is. All I have to do is go back to the scene where he jumps off the roof and he flies 100 miles an hour into a concrete slab, right? Just eats shit, and then he gets up and walks away. That's not very grounded, all right? If that happened to you, even if you're in a steel suit, you're still going to get wrecked and probably die by just the sheer blunt trauma and the violent shaking that your head would do. It would probably cause some brain bleeding and you would die, So there is room in the Matt Reeves Batman world to do stuff that's fantastical. There's even that scene at the end of the Batman where he injects himself with that adrenaline stuff that looks like venom, and he kind of goes ape shit, right? That's kind of fantastical. That's not very grounded, but it's there. I feel like Reeves did leave that door open for bigger stuff to happen in this Pattinson Batman world. And of course, if they wanted to keep it separate, James Gunn smartly has said that it could be an Elseworld, tale that we're seeing with the Matt Reeves Batman. It could easily be that too, if they don't want to connect it. And I feel like people would be fine with that. But then again, if you do another Batman, it's got to be something completely different than Pattinson's. It's got to be something completely separate. Almost like a Batman Beyond deal. Where Batman's old and he's training a new Batman or something like that. You can't have two competing Batmen that are the same age, because then they're just going to be constantly compared. But anyway, that's what I feel about, Matt Reeves Batman merging with the Superman. It's just good business. You have a big IP with Batman that's a success. A lot of spin-off shows that are about to be, successes. Penguin was the first. They're going to make more. Creature Commandos is doing great. James Gunn's off to a fast, hot start with his DCU. Everybody's loving Creature Commandos. I don't know if you saw, but the Weasel episode got really popular. And now Weasel's like a character. He took that rat thing from the Suicide Squad and made it into a fully fleshed character that you kind of care about. You kind of feel bad for. James Gunn's got a really good talent for doing that, to adding emotion to these characters that you shouldn't like at all. And that's why I feel, very confident that Guy Gardner's going to be awesome. Nathan Fillion's already a likable actor, so he's going to be able to pull that off. Make him an asshole at first, and then you slowly start to like him, just like Peacemaker. It's the same type of thing. But yeah, let's go back to that Superman trailer. Absolutely incredible. Perfectly nailed the tone of what a Superman movie should be. The first thing I noticed from the trailer when I watched it was it was just so bright, and I was thinking, damn, it's been a long time since Superman has been in the sunlight like this, since he's been lit up this well. And that's not really a knock against the Zack Snyder films. He has a certain style of making films, and it's darker. But we have really been waiting for a Superman movie like this for a long time. I want to see Superman fight a giant, dinosaur kaiju thing. He did in All-Star Superman. And, it's funny because, James Gunn referenced All-Star Superman a lot while making the Superman film. And originally the film was called Superman Legacy. And James Gunn said, well, that's probably going to remind people, that's going to give the idea that the movie is about Superman's history and everything in the past. And he doesn't want you thinking about the past. He wants you thinking forward in the future, But really, it is a kind of fitting title, too, because it is all about the legacy Superman's going to leave on the world. And James Gunn's going to make a movie pretty much using all of Superman's history and lore. And I was watching tons of reactions because I just like seeing people react to something I like, right? And one person said when they saw Krypto, the dog, it made them think of their own dog. And that connected them to Superman. a character they never, related to or connected to, all of a sudden they have a way in. And that kind of stuff never really dawned on me, but now it does. Like, now it's like, wow, like James Gunn is trying to use every angle possible to get you relating to Superman. He's going to show him bloody and broken. He's going to show his dog, which James Gunn described Krypto in this movie as the worst dog on the planet getting superpowers. Yeah, and he does remind me of every dog I've ever known. Just in the few snippets we see of Krypto. And another thing I saw people reacting to was the music. How the Top Gun feel the music, but with the John Williams Superman theme that they're using. I think it's a great idea. Now, the composer of Superman has also talked about how they have made new music, but it is inspired by John Williams. They are taking cues from John Williams, and they're like heightening it, or they're changing it around. They're letting you feel that nostalgic feel with the music, but they're also doing something new with it, which I like a lot. So it's not just a rehash over again, like Superman Returns was. Like, Superman Returns was just a rehash of, the Christopher Reeves films. And I feel like Man of Steel was too different from what Superman should be, right? Like, they wanted to separate it so much from the John Williams and Richard Donner Superman that they made something that a lot of people couldn't connect with. And now, with James Gunn, we're bringing some of those elements back so people can find their way back in. Older people that love the Donner films, younger people that don't know who Superman is, like, he's finding a way to connect to everybody. And that's why this trailer was such a huge hit. It's top 5 most viewed trailer ever. Like, that doesn't happen often. The only other films it happens with are films that make over $1 billion, that clear $1 billion easily, make almost $3 billion. Endgame didn't make like $3 billion or something like that. So they might be looking at a huge event film if the movie is good. Now, I don't think that's a huge if. I feel like the movie will be good. I don't feel like James Gunn could really mess it up. He is under a lot of pressure, but look at his track record. Like, the guy hasn't missed. He knows how to hit on the emotional beats. He made you care about a CGI raccoon and a talking tree. Like, come on. I can't wait to see what he does with Krypto. And this trailer was just such a big hit that it drowned out all the negative noise that you get when you talk about DC films online. It really showed the insignificance that the negative fans have. And there is a huge segment of negative fans in the DC film fan base for whatever reason. They don't want these new DC films to do good, which is crazy. It's just crazy because, like, you're what? You just never want to see another DC character on screen again? Because that's what's going to happen if they don't do good. Or it'll take years. Decades. We are probably already past the golden era of comic book movies, but we might be heading into the Silver Age, which was also just as big for comics and stuff like that back in the day. And if how James Gunn is going about making these DC films works, and they see a huge profit on Superman, then that's going to be how they make the films going forward. They're going to have a completed script, and they're going to shoot the film quick, and they're going to let their VFX guys have time to finish special effects, and they're going to put out these movies, and they're going to be bangers. And we might get like 10 plus years of great DC films that everybody loves, new era, something different from Marvel, because Marvel is all about bringing the superheroes into our world. They're in New York City, they're in Washington, D.C., they're in real places all the time. In DC Comics, we're going into their world. We go into Gotham City, we go into Metropolis, we go into Central City, bunch of fictional cities, and it's pure escapism, which is perfect for movies and stuff, and audiences might be ready for that. This might actually work. And the way the negative voices were just drowned out by all the positivity from this trailer was a thing of beauty. In fact, you can go on like Twitter to all those like negative so-called DC fans that just talk about who all the time. And it looks like they're losing their minds because of how much positivity the Superman trailer is getting. They're all spiraling like right now. It's just a beautiful thing to see because they've held back, DC films long enough. The stink of what came before is about to be washed away. And I even think, the DC films were that bad, what I'm saying? But there's no denying that what Snyder did with the DC films did not hit with the audience, or else it would have made tons and tons of money. I mean, the amount of marketing Batman vs. Superman had, that film should have cleared $1 billion easy, should have made 1.5 and above. the amount of marketing that film had. Superman puts out one trailer, and it already has more views than Batman vs. Superman ever got. It has more views than, the Man of Steel trailer, any DCEU trailer. Just cleared them all instantly with 1 2-minute teaser. That's all the marketing they needed for the Superman movie. They might do a Super Bowl trailer for Superman, but then again, I don't think they need it. I don't think they need a Super Bowl trailer. I mean, you just got tons of views like this. You're not going to get that many views more from the Super Bowl ad. You know what I'm saying? But it'll be interesting to see. If they do drop a trailer for the Super Bowl and it gets around the same amount of views, if not more, in like 1 day span, then you really got to think that Superman's going to make huge money. And yeah, I watch all the talk shows and stuff on the internet too, and they're all being very conservative. They're like, oh, we'll be happy if it hits 700 million, 650 million. I'm like, you got to start thinking bigger. You know what I'm saying? With these kind of numbers. Don't be afraid to dream bigger. There's a new hope with DC. And James Gunn's providing that. And look, Superman's a great film and makes tons of money. Then maybe Matt Reeves changes his mind about the Pattinson Batman. Maybe Matt Reeves is like, okay, I'm going to do my trilogy, and we're also going to work it into the DCU. And I can really see it working, because the Batman we see in the first Batman film, he's only his second year in, and nobody knows he's Batman. No one calls him Batman. He's called Vengeance, like he's in the shadows all the time. He's not a superhero that's out in the public, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't really become that till the end of the film. And still at that point, Batman's just starting, you know what I'm saying? Like, the public is just starting to see him as a good guy at the very end of a 3-hour Batman film. And there's a big reason why it's taken this long to write the next Batman film and get the next Batman film going. Because they really are just up in the air. Matt Reeves is really probably holding his cards close to his chest, waiting. They probably go back and forth on this like every week. And no doubt most people on the internet are against the idea. You can look up countless video essays about why people are against it. But at the end of the day, what makes the most business sense? Always follow the money. If you can't put out another Batman product that's better than your Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves Batman, then you use that Batman. And you take that huge franchise and combine it with another huge franchise, and boom, you're looking at a lot of money. Which is what it all comes down to, man. Follow the money. James Gunn showing how it needs to be done, how these films need to be written, how they need to come together, and the time frame it needs to happen in. And just look how fast he put Superman together. Can't get over it. And look how positive the reception is on just a 2-minute trailer. And, I know it's just a tone trailer. It's not really like story driven. We're only seeing the first probably third of the movie. That's what James Gunn said. We're only seeing like the beginning half of this movie in the trailer. And if we're just seeing a little bit of the movie, everyone's like over the moon. I can't imagine the film's going to be much worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't imagine the film's going to come out and it's just going to be complete dog shit with the rest of the film. I don't see that happening. Like, nobody reacted like this for the Wonder Woman 84 trailer. Or even the Flash trailer. Like, a lot of people liked the Flash trailer, but nobody was like over the moon. There wasn't this many reaction videos to it. There wasn't that many views it got compared to this in this time frame. So, it's a good day to be a fan of DC films. It's coming together. I believe in what James Gunn's doing. And I feel like they're definitely keeping the doors open for the Matt Reeves Batman to combine with James Gunn's Superman and all that good stuff. When the trailer dropped, I had no idea it was going to be such a big, resounding hit. Was not thinking that at all. When I saw it, I'm like, cool. They're doing a Superman movie right. I don't think anyone's going to go see it. It might make $300 million. But now seeing the numbers and stuff, it's like, holy shit. They have their next big event film, and it's coming out in the middle of July, and they got a nice 2-week gap before Fantastic Four comes out after it or something like that. They got a little cushion to make big, big money. And nothing really wants to release around Superman. Like, I could see executives starting to move films away from the Superman film, if they haven't already. And I'm sure Warner Brothers is over the moon. I'm sure they weren't expecting this at all. They were probably thinking they'd be happy if the Superman film made 500 to 600 million. That's probably what they were expecting. No Superman film's really done that crazy well. I think Superman Returns made around 300 million something. Man of Steel was like the highest grossing one, making 600 million something, And this James Gunn Superman movie is going to make more money than both those Superman films combined. Let that sink in. I fully expect it to do that. People aren't going to want to wait for streaming to watch the Superman movie. Of course, for a film to make $1 billion, it's got to be really good. People got to go rewatch it over and over. We all know that. So that's the last hurdle it's really got to do. I feel like they just got to put out one more good trailer. Don't even put out anything more past that. One more good trailer, a couple good TV spots, and let's get to the movie. We're 6 months away. 7 months away. Let's just get to it. I'm already getting crazy hype for it. I can't stand it. Anyway, Creature Commandos. I hope everyone's watching that show. The last episode, Rick Flag got messed up. Don't know if he's alive or dead, but Clayface was in the episode, which I think is interesting because they were also talking about making a Clayface movie. Now, I don't know how I feel about all these villains getting their own movies or TV shows. Now, if they do it like how the Penguin happened, where you're kind of rooting for the Penguin the whole time, but then by the end of the season, they show Penguin be an unredeemable bad guy. And you realize, oh yeah, I have to hate this guy. Like, this is not a good guy. If they do that with their other villainous characters, I would love that. I'm a little tired of seeing the bad guys being portrayed as anti-heroes. I feel like some villains just gotta be villains. Like Lex Luthor, he gotta be a bad guy. And by the way, Nicholas Hoult looks fucking stellar in that Superman trailer. Forgot to mention that. Like, Nicholas Hoult, so good. He's such a great actor. And he was up for the role of Batman. And he was up for the role of Superman. And James Gunn thought he'd be a better Lex Luthor. So he's Lex Luthor. What's interesting about that is that Nicholas Hoult is kind of a leading man. He's getting a lot of big movies these days. His last 4 movies that I saw he was in. So Juror Number 2, The Order, Nosferatu, like back to back to back great films. And he's like the main part of all those films. Like, we are in the year of Nicholas Hoult, and it's going to cap off with like Lex Luthor, which is great for him and his career. And there's also a bunch of angles they could do with this Lex Luthor, but I really like that Nicholas Hoult is not like an ugly guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is kind of a leading man. He's 6'4", and I think David Cornsweet, Superman, he's about 6'5", something like that. So he can stand toe-to-toe with Superman and be a kind of an imposing figure. And there can also be a little bit of Lex Luthor trying to steal Lois Lane away from Superman, which, has happened kind of in the comics sometimes. So there's definitely those angles they can play it with. But I think excellent casting for Lex Luthor. Another reason why I'm really excited about this Superman film, because that was probably the biggest mistake Zack Snyder made with, the DC universe, was casting Jesse Eisenberg to be Lex Luthor. While it was an inspired, risky choice, it didn't work. It didn't work for a lot of people. And why take such a risk with the most pivotal, important villain in the DC universe? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you take a risk? Just because it seems like a cool idea in the moment. We all know that Bryan Cranston probably should have just been Lex Luthor, and it would have been a much better performance. And maybe Batman vs. Superman would have turned out better for it, or at least people would have been so hard on it. You never know. We could be a completely different place right now if that casting choice was different. In fact, a lot of the casting decisions made in the old DC films was bad. Gal Gadot, bad actress. I feel like we just got lucky, with that first Wonder Woman movie. Ezra Miller, tons of baggage. Great actor. Great actor. If you haven't seen We Need to Talk About Kevin, he's amazing in that movie. And I thought he was fun as the Flash, but once again, tons of baggage. Jason Momoa completely miscast, I would say, as Aquaman. It's clear Jason Momoa needs to be Lobo. And that might be what he's already cast as in the DCU. Ben Affleck, another actor with a lot of baggage and stuff like that. And they cast a Batman that seemed too old. Why are we casting a Batman that's at the end of his career already? To start the DC universe. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in the moment when, they are putting those films together, it's cool in the moment. You want to see all this stuff happen and be good and even will it to be good. I was willing those films to be good, and I do like them to some extent because they have some of my favorite, comic book characters in them. Of course, I'm going to like it. There's parts of Batman Forever that I like. But I am glad we are getting a rebooted DCU. A new start, fresh start. I feel like that's what we kind of got with the Matt Reeves Batman too. It's like a fresh start. Here's a fresh Batman. Let's forget about Ben Affleck. Let's forget about, any other Batman before. Fresh start. Robert Pattinson's our Batman. And they really should keep him. Might as well. Sign him on for 10 years. Get David Cordsweat as Superman for 10 years. Let's get this going, Can't wait for the Lantern show. It's another big thing. Can't wait to see what happens with the rest of Creature Commandos, Clayface being in it was big deal. That we're adding those kind of villains already really hints at where we're going in the DCU. Getting fantastical off rip, as if the Superman trailer didn't tell you that enough, But anyway, I think that's it for now. Comment below. We'll come back with another DCFU podcast in the future when we have more to talk about. I'm probably going to talk more about Creature Commandos and stuff like that because that show's very good. Wasn't expecting much. Expecting a silly little show, and it is that, but it has heart. And there's something about each character you can latch onto. Even G.I. Robot, but he's kind of got this childlike wonder in his eye when he's talking. And he seems like he's always happy. Unless you bring up Nazis, and he gets real mad, which is great. And Weasel, would have never thought in a million years that I would like Weasel. I thought the Weasel character in the Suicide Squad was like a throwaway character, just a stupid little gag. But James Gunn turned him into something. Just like he did with the Peacemaker and John Cena. You took a character that was nothing in the books, and you made him something. What is James Gunn going to be able to do with a character people actually adore and love? Like Superman. It just, my mind races with the possibilities. There's a lot to be hopeful for DC films moving forward. And that's it for now. This is your DCFU podcast. I'm Alex, and I'm signing off. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye for now.